I'm starting to wonder what even being an Avatar fan will be like a year from now, because 2026 just went from being kinda critical to a full-on life support situation. And we seem to be getting closer and closer to the whole franchise just getting shoved into cryosleep. Okay, so we all know about Paramount's decision to cut Avatar's upcoming movie from the theaters, right? But what a lot of folks don't seem to realize is that this decision affects way more than just the movie itself. And I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. 2026 is gonna be Avatar Studios' year to just either fight or die. Because, for almost 5 years now, Avatar has existed mostly on potential. We've had a lot of big announcements and promises with relatively small actual payoff. But through all that, there had always been one consistent promise: a theatrical release. And by now, actually, it'd be more like a theatrical comeback event, but one that would completely revitalize the franchise for years to come. And now, it looks like we're not getting that. Here's why that matters more than you may realize. See, if The Legend of Aang had stayed a theatrical release and been a major box office success, then 2026 from beginning to end would have had a snowballing effect of growing mainstream publicity, fan activity, and overall popularity. And honestly, even if the film wasn't as good as fans hoped, just the fact that it would have been in theaters would have been enough to keep Avatar relevant all year long. Here, imagine this. Say Book 2 of Netflix's adaptation drops early in the year. Good. That's already going to be pulling mainstream industry and audience attention back to Avatar. Then, after that airs, Paramount follows it up with a teaser trailer for The Legend of Aang, drawing new fans toward the main franchise and reminding old fans that new stories are still being told, but now back in its original animated form. And from there, real momentum will start to build. Now suddenly, everything else in the franchise benefits. Show me the money! The comics, the novels, the games, and everything else, both old and new, all see a boost in activity because a wave of new fans and disconnected old fans are now being brought in. Then, with all this activity building, fans both old and new get to come together in person at the biggest nerd event of the year, Comic-Con. There, we could finally receive an official trailer for the film, updates on Seven Havens, brand new announcements, and an actual clear plan for the future. Now, all of that would work to build anticipation toward a massive theatrical event at the end of the year. And with investors and industry giants watching the franchise grow all year long until this premiere, seeing it bring in new audiences while re-engaging old ones, they'd have no choice but to start taking Avatar Studios seriously. With that, Avatar would have already proven its value as an IP. And with major box office success, it could have finally re-established itself as a true mainstream juggernaut with a long future ahead of it. If done right, it wouldn't have just been a movie. It would have been the franchise telling the industry that it's finally waking back up, and now on a whole new stage. But because Paramount didn't believe this could happen, they didn't just shut down Avatar Studios' big moment. They potentially crippled everything the studio was building toward. Okay, before I go any further, understand this. If Avatar can't prove it has value as a long-term, high-profit IP, then it, and everything it could have become, risks getting pushed to the far back of the entertainment world's shelf. And by stepping in and publicly stripping away Avatar Studios' long-anticipated theatrical debut, Paramount has effectively sent a message to the entire industry that animated Avatar has no theatrical value. So, how could 2026 actually break Avatar? First, without a theatrical release at the end of the year, it becomes way harder to reach new audiences throughout the year. And if Paramount doesn't have confidence in the film as a theatrical release, then to them, there's no reason for them to market it like one. That means no teaser directly after Book 2 of Netflix's adaptation, which delays the first real promotion of the film all the way back to Comic-Con. And that's already a problem. Because without early promotion, the entire first half of the year goes by with little to no publicity for Avatar Studios. And less attention means less activity for everything else in the franchise, both existing content and new releases. And even if we do get a teaser or trailer later in the year, the impact won't be nearly as strong, because the studio would be starting momentum way too late, all just for a much smaller streaming release at the end of the year. And less marketing leads to fewer casual viewers, and fewer casual viewers leads to much weaker numbers. And that brings us to the second major issue: money. See, streaming success simply doesn't compare to box office success. And actually, some people believe that Paramount moved the movie to Paramount Plus because they already knew how well it could have done in theaters and wanted to use all that hype to boost their streaming platform instead. But if the film is marketed like a direct-to-streaming project, it won't reach the audience needed to deliver those same numbers anyway. Which means Paramount doesn't win. And they and Avatar Studios will lose what could have been a massive victory for their reputation and financial goals. And all this brings us to the biggest deciding factor as to whether Avatar as a franchise lives or dies. See, because after having an underwhelming year that only brings in modest audience numbers at best, Avatar Studios will have failed to protect the one thing it's been trying to rebuild for years: its value. If the franchise can't justify the investment being put into it at the mainstream level, its future projects become much easier to delay or downscale, or just shelve entirely. And if Paramount doesn't believe in Avatar, why should anyone else in the industry? If Paramount was willing to take away Avatar Studios' theatrical debut once, what is stopping them from just doing it again for the studio's future plans for theatrical releases?
It's just business.
So no, losing this theatrical comeback isn't just bad. It could legitimately start closing doors that the franchise might never get that same chance to walk through ever again.
Oh, one other thing.
Now, I do think that Avatar can still have a strong year, maybe even prove that it can perform well on a mainstream-like level without theaters. But realistically, it would very much be an uphill fight. Here, for 2026 to work, Avatar needs as much attention and visibility as it can possibly get before the movie premieres. That means, and of course I know it's a long shot, but Paramount has to market The Legend of Aang a bit differently than what's normal for an animated streaming release. To start, a strong teaser should drop shortly after Netflix releases Book 2. That way, Avatar can ride the wave of attention generated from the adaptation and the teaser itself straight into Comic-Con later that year. Now at Comic-Con, and this is key, Avatar Studios needs to lay everything on the table. Every project, every update, all with visuals. This is so not the year for them to be holding anything back anymore. Comic-Con also is the best time to finally drop the official trailer for the film. Then, in the months leading up to the release, TV spots can definitely help to keep that momentum alive until we finally arrive at the premiere.
That's all you have to do!
Above all else, like always, well almost always, a franchise will live and die by the hand of its fans. About a week ago, some fans made a petition to Paramount asking to release The Legend of Aang in theaters, and already it's gotten over 30,000 signatures. And regardless of whether or not Paramount will actually listen to the fans, the petition is already drawing media attention. So one way or another, more eyes are already being brought to the franchise and its issues. And if both Paramount and Avatar Studios market the film and clearly lay out the plans for the franchise's future, fans like you and me can do our part by engaging the growing fandom directly. That could be through generating online content discussions, increasing online fandom presence, and overall just making sure Avatar is as popular and active as it can be, whether it's online on social media, YouTube, or in person at Comic-Con, making a big, positive impression. The main thing I want to do with this channel is to explore what could have been and what could still be for all the animated projects I've loved almost my whole life, and for all the ones I have yet to get to know. Avatar: The Last Airbender is at the very top of that long, long list. And as a running theme on this channel will be the fact that I just absolutely hate seeing a world with so much potential completely lose its shot to fully realize all that it really could be. And really, just as a fan, I'm really hoping we can turn this around. Avatar is my favorite show of all time. It has that sauce that I feel a lot of stories today are unfortunately missing. And even though this isn't strictly an Avatar channel, I'll try to do what little I can to not just tell my own stories, but also to help others tell theirs. This is my first video. If you stayed to this point, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. And welcome to Canon Fiction.